Hey, if I'm here, let's talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Awesome,
that should be the rule.
Vilan Trub?
Vilan Trub, yeah. And
Awesome.
the name of the movie is Mamochka.
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 Like Mamochka.
Mamochka.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. We are back with another episode of Sessions with Mary Jane. I'm your host, Jordan Freed, and I'm a little fried. Yeah. I'm chilling right now. Just an update on some shows coming up before we get to our wonderful interview today. I know I said previously that we had a show on February 21st, but that actually got moved back. So that is the Junk Mail Improv Show, and that'll now be April 11th at Bolero Snort Brewery in Carlstadt, New Jersey. Come out there when it's a little bit nicer out, when we've thawed out a little bit, and come enjoy. Also, March 20th, I'm going to be back at Club Andromeda, possibly. If anything changes, you could follow me on social media, and that will be posted there. But without further ado, we have a very special guest today. He is an independent filmmaker with his debut feature film.
No, it's my third.
Third feature film.
Yeah.
He is here to discuss his third feature film, Mamochka.
Mamochka.
Mamishka.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to the podcast, Vilan Trub.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I just finished, literally just before we got here, your film, and it's wonderful. How'd you feel about it? How's the process going now that it is completed?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm happy with it. What I'm very happy with is when you start off making a movie, it's always a question of how much is the final product going to reflect what you sort of wanted for the energy of the movie, for the look and feel of it, for the story of it. And this go around, it definitely captured that energy. And it's interesting seeing now that like it's out and audiences are able to see it, and audiences in different countries are able to see it, to see how differently people can see this movie, where there's clearly audiences who see it how it was intended. And then there's audience, and you'll always get this, where the feedback is, it would have been really good if it just happened to be a different type of movie.
Yeah.
Which is like, well, that's why that kind of movie exists, you should probably watch that.
Yeah, for sure. Where can people watch it right now?
Right now it's on Amazon Prime.
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
It's distributed by Bayview Entertainment, my second movie distributed by them. It's really cool having a distributor. It sort of feels like you got made into a mafia family. You're not just independent on the street. There's people behind you. And right now they have an exclusive window for rentals and purchases on Amazon and I think Fandango,
cool.
like Vudu. And then eventually it's going to have a wider rollout and a rollout around the world.
Awesome. So you've just had a couple of local screenings, right, for the premiere?
It screened, a theater in Westchester. I spoke to them. They actually picked it up for a week, and people have been coming. So it's been really awesome. And I told everyone in the cast and crew, I'm like, you want to make it out there. It's becoming rarer and rarer to be able to see yourself on the big screen. There's no feeling like that. I mean, why do we do this? We're children who didn't want to stop playing. Same with like comedy or anything. We just want to keep playing the games we played as kids. So, to be able to live out that fantasy you had as a kid, to see your movie on the big screen, it's really cool. And it also opened a festival in the UK.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Yeah. Where are you from?
I'm from Queens.
Queens. Heck yeah.
Yeah, okay. Forest Hills, Rego Park, that area.
Nice. That is a beautiful thing. Do you have German ancestry? Like, where did the story for this
the movie?
Doll come from?
I don't have German ancestry. No, I come from a Soviet Jewish immigrant family.
Word.
So my roots go back to about 1975.
I as well.
To this country. Yeah, so it's very new, but I love movies, so just watching different movies, I knew I wanted to tell a story because I feel we live during, especially with the internet, times where people are getting super duper obsessed through like their rabbit holes with the internet.
Yeah.
And the whole concept of like fascism, I feel it's almost like fetishized. And it's nothing new. Every generation thinks they're the first ones to do something. Everyone was calling Nixon a fascist. So, after World War II, it's just always been a thing. but I didn't want to make a story that's about like, this is what's important now, this is what I feel that's happening now, because that becomes boring and fades pretty quickly. So I wanted a story about how obsession is just always going to be around. And this doll sort of, gave that opportunity where, is it the doll or is the dad just, a natural born asshole, and the doll happened to be the excuse for him to become who he probably really wanted to be.
Yeah, for sure. It was very fascinating that way. I appreciated the internet of it all. Yeah. Are your other features like horror-ish like this, or?
No. The first one was like a lot of people who get into movies, when you're young, you become obsessed with sort of lower budget movies that broke through the French New Wave, stuff like that, where literally it just looks super unprofessional, just dudes running around with cameras, and wanting to make a movie like that about, I'm going to show my generation, I'm going to show what dumb 20-year-olds are like, and that's Susie Q.
Okay.
Which actually came out 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and the last movie I did was Film Noir, a crime drama, dead hookers and all that fun stuff.
Nice. Can you see those on platforms?
Yeah, they're on Tubi, Amazon.
Oh, heck yeah.
DVD, yeah.
Tubi is good for the broke motherfuckers out there. Like
I love
myself.
Tubi.
I love when people say it, because I'm just like, oh, now I don't need to find where it is. I could just go on Tubi.
It's
free.
It.
Like,
it's so good because, first of all, their collection of movies, if you want like from the 70s, from the 60s, from the 80s, like they just throw everything out there, and I sort of call them now like the unpretentious Criterion Collection. Like you'll go to the Criterion Collection for like, oh, this is a French film from 1959, and then you'll go to Tubi to watch like Abel Ferrara movie about strippers from the 80s. So it's a fun way to learn about a history of good movies.
Yeah, it also seems like I haven't looked too much into like the technical specifications for Tubi, but like I know Netflix has very high quality technical specifications that may like exclude some indie filmmakers. So like I feel like a lot of independent actors have kind of been able to get their stuff out there in a place where they can actually see it. Independent filmmakers can get it out there in a place that's easily accessible, which is one of the hardest things, I think, as a filmmaker, is like, nobody's seen my stuff. Like,
yeah, getting in front of an audience. And I always tell everyone, before you even, because now with Film Hub, people are able to get their movies on a lot of platforms. But before you even do that, talk to local movie theaters. Try to get it, on a big screen. Try to do something like that. If you get distribution, try to negotiate for a physical media release. Because the biggest thing about movies is, what's the value of a movie? Just like music, it's been totally devalued.
Yeah.
They used to, you used to have to go to a movie theater. There was a window. Then there was a window for rentals. And then maybe like 4 years, 5 years after a movie came out, you'd be able to see it on like, TNT or HBO or wherever. So, it was work to be able to see the movie, like going to Peter Luger's Steakhouse. Whereas now, it just immediately gets dumped on streaming, and they turn like a ribeye steak from Peter Luger's to McDonald's. So even if you're getting a good quality movie, the distribution model devalues the movie. People don't trust what they're going to go see because they're conditioned to know that it's always there. And it happened with the music industry, with Spotify and streaming, and right after Napster. And the movie industry sort of saw this happen and did nothing to like prepare for it. Yeah. Because I feel they don't really care about movies. I mean, we're seeing now articles about film school where kids can't even sit through movies anymore at film school. Sure. And the industry, the Academy, is now going to stop theatrical screenings for its members for nominated movies and stuff. Oh, I feel, really? I feel the whole industry is just comprised of people who, I don't know, enjoy, the facade of being in industry, but they're not actually film obsessed people, Yeah,
I think it's tough too when we're like, I grew up like getting DVDs from my library, and like that was kind of how I built my early like film education. But then Netflix started streaming because my parents had the DVDs in the mail, and then I got access to that and got to start to watch like weirder stuff. But now it's like I've literally watched thousands of movies at this point. And yeah, maybe back in the day it was more of a novel thing where people were just like, oh, I don't do this very often. Like, I go to a movie 4 times a year and I'm not watching them on my TV all the time.
I mean, I don't know. We're not too far from WPIX. Growing up, before it was even the WB, they would always have movies showing, The Wraith with Charlie Sheen. They would have Short Circuit 2. It was never like Short Circuit 1. It was like Short Circuit 2. I just think, like any industry, I mean, what was Hollywood built on? It wasn't, elite business people coming in. They're like, oh, this is an idea we want to invest money into. No, it was hustlers from New York who moved out west, saw an opportunity, and they built something. And now it sort of feels like the industry is run by Silicon Valley because some analytics said, well, we can make it profitable doing X, Y, Z. And the reality is that's not how capitalism works. Capitalism works by someone likes something, they're willing to pay a certain amount of money for it, so you sell it for a certain amount of money.
Yeah, for sure. They're definitely taking that out of our society with the Uberification of everything. Like everything is a subscription model. Everything is you don't own anything and you do that. So hopefully people will go out to the theaters. And I think especially like you were saying, like going to the indie, like local theaters, they're looking for things that set them apart, They're never going to be AMC. So it's like, how could you subvert being AMC?
Yeah. Well, it's a community. It's the whole thing of like, well, a filmmaker is going to screen a movie and they're going to bring their audience out. That's not a bad thing. That's literally how all of entertainment has been built up throughout history. You're in the comedy world, same thing. You want stage time. How many people are you bringing to the show? If you're a band, you want to perform. How many people are you bringing into the club? And you keep doing that, and it's about broadening that circle of the people you're bringing, of the people that know you, until it gets to a point where the people know you and you don't know them. You know? And I say that with the greatest respect for the comedy world. This movie, much of the cast and producers were comedians, and that was by design, because I consider you to be sort of the last artists, where it's like movies and everything, it gets put out, but they're very ignorant of the feedback and sort of reject the feedback. Well, this is what we're saying, and what you think of it doesn't really matter. Whereas if you're on stage and you're performing, they're going to let you know if you're doing a good job or not. So you learn very quickly how to entertain an audience, which is all this is.
Yeah, you find out live, and also it's interesting to see people like laughing or not laughing in front of your eyes in the moment, which is very cool for film. Like with the film that I've dabbled in, it was like, it's cool to be in the theater and like listen to people laughing and like reacting. And I'm sure like you've enjoyed people squirming at your film.
Well, I mean, just working, it's a totally different relationship where it's stressful making a movie. It's very stressful. And when I cast a movie, I'm going to be spending a lot of time with these people. So it's not just like, who's the most talented? Who am I going to want to spend months with? Who's not going to irritate the living utter shit out of me? Who I'm going to be able to get through this process with? And comedians show up on time, know their lines, are very flexible, and between takes are awesome to just shoot the shit with. Have a cigarette with, have some laugh. Okay, it's the 5-minute breaks, done. Let's go back to work. Incredible. Whereas a lot of the actors I worked with, it feels like, again, it's sort of that cosplay of like being an actor. Well, I have to be method. I have to be moody because my character's moody and all that. And I get, a lot of the craft comes from that. But at some point, I'm sorry, what are you doing? Like we're trying to make a movie here. We're trying to have fun. That's not saying it's not a professional environment, but all right, Meryl Streep, let's relax a little bit. Let's communicate a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting how like there's some actors who do 1,000 things for 15 seconds of screen time.
Yeah.
And then some actors will just do one thing.
Yeah.
They'll just make sure they know their lines.
Yeah. And the greatest thing is the comedians are the most enthusiastic about promoting the movie, showing up to the screening. They're so excited for its success because, again, I think it's that world of comedy where you have to put in the effort. You got to earn that stage time. You got to bring people in to watch it. You got to grow your audience. You got to promote yourselves. Whereas, and this is again from personal experience of working with professional actors and working with people who are from the comedy world, crossing over into acting. Actors show up, they do their part, they want their footage for their reel, and that's the last you hear of them for the movie. They're not excited about the promotion. They don't want to sort of be enthusiastic. They're totally, disassociated from the movie once they're done filming it. And it's wild for me because, like I said, we're just kids who refuse to put down the toys. So to have a movie, not just, it's so cool to be able to finish a movie, but at this point, I need more than that. So to be able to finish a movie, get distribution, get it seen around the world, be profitable. You know how exciting that is?
Oh,
yeah. If I could see a kid version of myself.
I know for sure. I'm going through the process right now with the script I wrote, and I'm helping to produce it, and it's just like, there's so many steps along the way. Like, you don't see those steps, and the steps are very hard if you're small.
Yeah.
Because, like, people don't do shit unless you pay them a lot of money. So if you don't have a lot of money, you're getting that money secured, but you don't know those people who are going to give you the money, and
they're going to suck. That's another thing. Everyone in the entertainment industry I always see like complaints about it. Pay us what we're owed. It's like, don't rip people off. You got to pay. Don't ask for free work. But a lot of the people demanding money aren't good at what they're asking the money for. Yeah. There's this entitlement where it's like, well, this is my title. I'm going to be a DP. I'm like, but you're not a good DP. Maybe you should, work for very little or work for free until you develop and learn. So, you learn on your dollar versus necessarily someone else's. So that's a bit of a gripe I have as well. And when I started off, I worked a lot for free because I looked at it as sort of, what's that? It used to be like, oh, if you wanted to be a cobbler, you worked for a cobbler, for free to learn by them. I forgot the term for it. Apprentice. Apprenticeship. Yeah. So I worked a lot for free. And you know what? Wild story. When I first started, I was 18 years old. I'm like, I want to make movies. I'm going to work on this. And this was back when Craigslist was like a place you actually went, to like find stuff. So I'm like, okay, what are gigs available for learning filmmakers on Craigslist? And there was one for an internship on an indie movie. I'm like, all right. So I show up to the address and it's literally just a dude in a van. And me and this other girl show up. And she takes one look. She's like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. Understandably.
Understandably. And I'm standing here and I'm like,
you know what? New York City, not a great idea. So.
I'm like, you live once. You know what? As long as it's daylight, as long as I don't get myself killed today, at the very worst, it's an experience. You got to start off. And the person whose van it was making a self-financed, very low-budget movie. But he was actually a producer from the hip-hop world who produced music videos for Wu-Tang Clan, Rough Riders Anthem. So it was someone with some history. He just happened to be a point in his career where there was a lull and he was trying to get back up, making his own work. Within months, I was working on 50 Cent music videos. I was living at a hotel with 50 Cent, working on a movie of his, all through the same people because I got in that van, So everything we're taught is probably right about getting into a van with strange dudes. But this one time, it happened to work out for me.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely like free or underpaid work. Yeah. It may feel shitty to your wallet at the time, but it does lead to things. Yeah. And then people do remember that if you work for them for free, if they're good people. Yeah. There are definitely a lot of people who don't remember the things that you do and the favors that you give them. But I think a lot of people do look back and they're like, well, that's my guy now. Like they were willing to do this like task that I needed somebody for and I didn't have any money to pay. Like, yeah. Back around.
I think there's a hang up on, well, I want to be a professional at this and I'm only a professional if I'm making money. So people start pretending like they're successful because, I got a paid gig. But okay, that gig ends. Are you able to get another one? How long are you able to sustain that? And that's why you see a lot of people, once they reach a certain age, have that career change because they weren't able to make it, to keep making money doing this. And the reality is, I think there's more of a hang up about making money doing it than actually figuring out how to be really good at it and how to get an audience doing it. The money will follow, Yeah. It's like, why am I where I'm at with this movie? Well, this is the third movie I'm making, you know? Just keep hustling, keep pushing things through. Is each movie better than the last? Absolutely. Does that mean those were bad movies? No. I made a movie. It's not like, this movie's not the greatest movie ever. I'm going to pocket it and hide it and keep it from the audience. No, put it in front of the audience anyway. Push it as the greatest movie ever. Build off of that, build off of that momentum and work with a lot of comedians. So you definitely have a good network around you. Yeah.
And I feel like it's more punk rock too. Like when you're actually there in person, like that does a lot for you. I don't know if you've heard of this movie, The Pee Pee Poo Poo Man.
No, I have not.
It was at the Rutherford Film Festival last year, and the director came out there, and I got to talk to him a little bit. And he has this movie about like a Toronto legend about this guy who got arrested for throwing pee-pee and poo-poo on people, and he made up this movie based off of the premise that there is a guy in Toronto who throws pee-pee and poo-poo at people, and it is a $5,000 film. Like, it's so cheaply made. But he's going all over the country and all over the world to do this. And because it has a provocative title and like it is an event in it, like it changes it, and it becomes something where it's like the culture comes around you, kind of like, I'm sure, like, I'm not old enough, but like what Pulp Fiction was when it came out and when people were discovering it and they were like, what is this? Like, this is crazy. Like, I'm going to dress up for this. Like,
well, Pulp Fiction just changed the game. It was one of those movies where it took the industry and gave it back to the creatives for a while. And part of that was Harvey Weinstein. You know, as terrible of a human being as he was the rebel who came in and sort of threw up a giant middle finger to the studios and said, no, we can make money like this by giving the artists the opportunity again. But what you're talking about, you know, a little movie about a weird subject, that's why I love Robert Downey Sr. You know, I always tell everyone, they're like, how do I learn how to make movies? I'm like, watch Chafed Elbows. You know, literally a movie that's entirely composed of just still photographs and narration that he put together about the weirdest and wildest thing. But he was making his movies, he was building his audience, and he had a career, you know, and he might not be known by, you know, general audiences today, but a lot of the people who are making the movies that general audiences love today love Robert Downey Sr. because they saw something in him that excited them, and he became successful. And for me, my last movie screened at the Anthology Film Archives in the city here.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah, as part of their new Filmmakers series. And they housed the Robert Downey Sr. archives. So for me, it was like, oh my God, it's so awesome. You know, with $1 in the dream, you can be on the big screen. And I feel that's a callback to, like, you know, Jack Warner heading out west with his brothers, you know, and building an industry and then screwing over all of his brothers.
I don't know too much about that story.
You should look into it. It's hilarious.
So you're saying one Warner brother
yeah,
fucked over
the
the
Warner
other
brothers.
Warner brother?
And then at some point it was just Jack. You know, and then the other Warner brothers were out of the picture. But yeah, they were all hustlers. It's not like the industry was built by you know, business professionals with analytics and all that. No, they were just entrepreneurs. It was no different than Henry Ford, you know, building his auto plant. They had an idea. They said, this could be profitable. Let's assemble the people we need to build this and, like, build our studio. You know, they didn't have crazy degrees or diplomas and all that. I think the new Hollywood generation of the 70s, because they all came from film school, created this perception that you need some sort of official education. Like, oh, those are the people who should be making the movies, the people in those universities, getting the degrees, studying the movies. And now we find out they can't even sit through the movies they claim to want to be making. You know? I think that what you need to have a revolution is give the industry back to the people who just want to build something, you know, who are hungry. You know, Marty Supreme, why I love that movie so much. That movie was about Hollywood and what it used to be. It was about the hustlers who didn't care about anything besides succeeding. Are you always going to like them? No, probably not. But we don't have anything today that we do love without people like that. You know, you got to break some eggs to make an omelet.
Yeah, it's sad that the hustler culture is kind of like dissipated where there's less return. Like, I guess the hustlers of today's day and age are the influencers who spend fucking 7 hours behind the scenes every day, like editing videos and doing stupid like selfie cam videos as they're walking down the streets and like doing live streams for like random ass people all over the world. Yeah, I guess that's the new hustle. It's a little different and a little less blue collar than the film industry might have been.
I mean, I still think it's pretty blue collar, and I think it's
the film industry definitely is.
Yeah, I recently shared about this where, you know, social media, as much as I hate it, it is the new place where, you know, just like the movie industry used to be and the music industry used to be. This is where the future of the creators is. The question is, when's that moment when it goes from just podcasting, just to 20-second clips, just like movies used to always be shorts, you know, and songs used to just be, let's just churn out the 2-minute hits. When's that moment when it goes to, no, let's make an hour and a half movie. Let's figure out how how to create something a little more long form, just like when the Beatles created the album era in the 60s. It's going to happen on social media, and social media is going to, have its golden era, and then, eventually it's going to be bastardized by the people who have their masters in being an influencer, which will eventually happen also, because that's just what happens to everything. And then, it'll be something else where people on the street are like, how can I make money without having to get a stupid degree?
You don't want to go back to school to get a gaming degree?
No, I mean, I loved school. I was in college for like 7 years, but
where'd you go to school?
I went to Stony Brook for a little bit, then BMCC, and then I finished at Queens College.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Moved around. Were you doing film stuff and all that, or you were
not?
No,
I really did not enjoy school. And my whole time there, I felt like, okay, if I want to be a doctor, I understand, or if I want to be a scientist or something, But whatever options I'm seeing, I don't see any of these majors as like necessary to have a career. It just, at the time, it felt like a money scam for me. And lo and behold, college is a pretty big money scam. So I just sort of went through the motions, got the degree, and then went off and figured out my own way how to make money.
Nice.
I did enjoy the college lifestyle, though. And, that's why I was there for so long.
Word. Yeah, college is fun for sure. I feel like different people get different things out of it. Like, I feel like you have to be very engaged with the reading and shit like that if you're like really trying to be studious and like get into that. And then you meet people who are like studious in their own ways and have their own perspectives. So I feel like it's good for that. But yeah, it is kind of a scam in other ways.
Yeah, I mean, well, I was very curious because, looking back, like, let's go back to 1980. And just a school as an example, Harvard. How many majors did Harvard offer in 1980 compared to today? How many majors? I mean, I don't know. I didn't look this up because I try to just focus on movies and stuff that makes me happy. But it would be interesting to see like how many more majors arise. It's
some die though. They let some go.
Yeah, but I feel it's just, if I had to bet, I'd say there's so many majors. It's almost like that movie. What was it? With the guy Justin Long.
Oh, Accepted.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, skateboarding can be a major now. And that was like a comedy, but now it's sort of like, no, that feels like that's what college is now.
Oh, that is definitely what college is. It's like, it's just being on a cruise on land, basically. Like, oh, you can eat food. Like, oh, look, we're going to bring you all this entertainment. Like, you get to see the best entertainers in the world. Like, see John Mulaney, Neil deGrasse Tyson came to my school. It's like all these people, and it's like, wow, I'm so special. Like,
and that's why I spend so much time just watching movies. Not that I just came here to shit on colleges. It's where the conversation.
Oh yeah, no. Speaking of your movie, if you don't mind sharing, you could definitely not share. But how long did it take for the shoot, and what was the budget?
Yeah, no, of course. I'm in your hands. You asked me, I'll tell you.
We have a lot of indie filmmakers who listen, so that's like the question that's always curious to us.
It took a while. I believe we kicked off production around May or June. April, May, June, sometime around then in 2024.
Okay.
And we wrapped fully sometime in 2025. I would say maybe March or February. That's for production, not post-production. Post-production ran another few months. But we had 14 days of shooting, but they were spread out.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, so it was spread out. But I'm very anal when it comes to production, and pre-production is king. So whenever bringing anyone on to try to get them to work on a movie, I just bombard them with spreadsheets that I create about, okay, here's the schedule, here's who's needed for what days, here's how it's organized, because you have to be organized.
Definitely, especially if you're doing 14 days. Like a feature in 14 days is pretty savage.
Yep, and the way I also broke it down is, okay, which parts of the movie are we going to try to film first? Which ones are we going to film later on? And, something I read from a Stanley Kubrick interview was when he was making Barry Lyndon, in all his notes that he provided to the studio to justify getting the budget, he's like, we're going to break it down into 3 parts. We're going to film the smallest stuff first, then the bigger stuff, and then the biggest set pieces we're going to film last. Because by the time we get to the biggest set pieces, we want to make sure we know what the movie really is. Because a movie changes organically. You have the actors, what's working, what's not working, so that by the time you get to the stuff that's really expensive or hard to shoot, you're not going to have to reshoot it to make sure it fits with wherever the movie went. And that was the same with this movie as well. You got to be really organized. In terms of budget, I don't have an exact budget, but probably between $10,000 and $15,000.
Word.
And I'm always curious how much people think a movie costs. I've been told by a producer I've worked with before not to reveal necessarily the budget, because the days of like Clerks, where you can brag about a small budget, or El Mariachi, you can brag about a small budget, don't really work anymore because of digital cameras. You actually want the perceived value of your movie to be much higher than what you probably spent on it.
Interesting.
So my question for you would be, how much did this movie feel like it cost to you?
Oh, you definitely at least 10x your budget, if not 100x. You in the independent film world and in the ultra low budget, micro budget worlds, it very conceivably could have been that film cost $1 million.
Oh.
Like, I think like a standard line producer would say,
yeah,
like,
thank you.
That was
thank you.
Like, this should be $1 million to budget it. Make sure we get the actors on the union scale, and like make sure you have. I'm assuming your camera crew was probably very small.
It was just me and a DP,
and
I worked the camera, the lenses, because I've always been obsessed with that. So the DP I got, you always want to work out the weakest muscles. So I made sure whoever we got as DP was very strong with lighting to sort of balance out what I know with the camera and the lenses and all that. And I wanted to shoot the movie anamorphic, so I built my own anamorphic lens set for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What camera did you shoot it on?
On the Blackmagic.
Nice.
I love the Blackmagic, and they're often used as a B camera for ARRIs, which I consider the greatest digital camera. I'm not a fan of the Reds. I've worked with them before. It's very hard to make a movie, but being my third movie, again, what makes a good movie? Everyone always asks, when you're filming, what are you supposed to do? There really is just one rule. When you're filming something, does that look like a shot and performance from a real movie?
Yeah.
Does that look like something I would see in a real movie? And that's why every day before shooting, besides the fact that I'm always watching movies, every day before shooting, I'm like, okay, this scene, whether A, I want it to look a certain way, or B, because of time and budget, it's going to have to look a certain way. We're going to have to approach it filming a certain way. I watch a movie before filming that day that puts me in the mindset of, okay, this is what it should look and feel like when we're filming today. And as an example in this movie, Sidney Pollack, who I love as a director, the way he filmed the movie, almost especially action, felt very effortless. It wasn't overly stylized. He was just capturing the action. And for certain days, I'm like, okay, we don't have a lot of time. We're going to be on the zoom lens. We need as much coverage as we can get. Let's not overcomplicate things. How do we capture the action today? And I would, watch Jeremiah Johnson or something like that. Whereas other days I'm like, okay, I know we don't have, it's a lot of dialogue. I know we're going to have some time to play around with. I know I'm going to want long lenses. Let me put on Blade Runner, or, if I know I'm going to be doing certain stuff with the camera, let me put on some Orson Welles to really figure out how to turn 5 shots into 1 shot,
Nice. Well, congratulations. That's very good to be economical and efficient.
Yeah.
Was the 14 days what you planned for?
14 days was actually exactly what we planned for. I mean, there was like an additional day or two where like I just had someone come in for like one pickup shot or something like that where no one else was needed. But yeah, we planned for 14 days. Here's the thing. I planned to shoot it to finish 2 months earlier, and we would have finished 2 months earlier, but one person had to be fired. There was a line producer on the movie, the only person who was fired. And especially a movie with low budget, you understand you're working with inexperienced people. You tolerate a lot. It's all about everyone's learning. Yeah. My responsibility is to keep everything in order. But the one thing you can't tolerate is lying. And this person would lie about, we're scheduling this day. Everyone's free. They've committed. We're filming on this day. And then I talk to the actors and they're like, yeah, no one told us about this. Now I had this day free, but it's not free anymore. And that set us back a month, So if it wasn't for that, we would have finished entirely on time within those 14 days. And that for me is that's where I feel like, okay, by the third movie, I've learned how to really make a movie. The artistic side will come out. Once you're on set, the camera's set up, the actors are in front of the camera, that's when you can take off your producer hat and be like, okay, let's figure out how we can make this interesting. Is it interesting what's in front of the lens? But before then, you have to have that producer hat and really figure out, how do we make sure this doesn't become a runaway train?
Yeah. Wow. How did you get connected with Alex Kolar?
Oh man, so I know Andrew Steiner. We met doing a podcast years ago, and we just kept in touch. Making each other laugh and shooting the shit. And then I had a movie come out, and then right after it came out, COVID happened, which just put a pause on everything. And then I moved to Westchester from Queens, and coming out of it, I wanted to work again, make a movie. But I needed to sort of, shake off the rust. I don't like short films, but I just did a short film as an exercise to sort of, get back in the groove, sort of, get back in shape. And I did this short comedy called Suburban Pimp. And I was talking to Andrew, and I'm like, who do you think would be good in this? Let's produce it together. What comedians? And he connected me with Alex. And when I saw him, any filmmaker in your mind, you watch movies, you have a catalog of actors you want to work with, and you know why you want to work with them. And for me, John Goodman was always one of those actors. Besides Roseanne, I loved him in the Coen Brothers works. Raising Arizona, he was great. And when I saw Alex, who's this big dude, he's this big dude, but he's a big dude who at the same time playing intimidating can also play adorable.
Because he's
the big
a
soft teddy bear.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be able to pull off both. And when I saw that, I'm like, I'm going to become your friend and we're going to work together. And when I made this movie, Mamochka, the main character, because it is this sort of dad that you have to like him until you realize he's a psycho. It's someone who can do both. And he did it very well. And like I said, he was really awesome to film with, to like crack jokes with. The audience might not have seen the movie yet who we're talking to, but you've seen it, the scene where he's going crazy behind his desk, like going down a rabbit hole of like studying Nazis and all that shit. That was literally an end of a really long day when I told everyone, okay, you're done, fuck off, catch your trains, go home. Me and him just got pretty drunk on whiskey, and we're like, okay, let's go film a really weird scene with you on the internet. And you got to surround yourself with people who you enjoy spending time with. We're playing, it's if you want to be stressed out, you're going to be stressed out. But if you want to sacrifice the fun because you got to do what's servicing the movie best, at that point you might as well be an accountant.
For sure.
Even Orson Welles said, no, I'll cast my friends instead of someone who I think might be better for the role because I want to enjoy my life. This is me and my friends playing,
For sure. It definitely seemed like that came out. You also did you shoot Andrew Steiner's special?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And that was one of those things we talked about where it's, okay, he worked on my stuff because we wanted to collaborate. And then he said he wanted to do a special. And he was asking me, if I knew anyone who wanted to film. And I was offended. I'm like, anyone? Well, why don't you ask me? I always wanted to film like some sort of special, And he was like, I didn't want to insult you because we're not paying, whatever. I'm like, no, you did the movie where you're doing this stuff. This is why I'm here. Let me film your stuff, My only request was that I film a narrative portion prior to the stand-up portion. If you've seen the special, there's that little narrative portion that I wrote. I'm like, you know what? You're doing a stand-up special. You want to reach audiences who don't know you. How do we introduce you to them? So I'm like, let's do a little Ferris Bueller segment before the stand-up special. And he was game, and we did it, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's super cool. Were the other actors kind of the same situation, or did you hold auditions at any point?
We did hold auditions.
Yeah.
There were roles that went through the comedians, and then there were certain roles that came in through auditions. And it's hard auditioning because a lot of people just aren't good or they're not game. And for actors at this level, the most important thing for me is how comfortable do you feel embarrassing yourself? Because it is embarrassing. Acting is really, really embarrassing.
Oh, for sure.
You're an adult playing dress up, playing house, saying other people's words. It's ridiculous and embarrassing. But if you do it right, the audience doesn't see you playing games and playing dress up. They see something they believe to be real. So you have to acknowledge what you're doing is embarrassing so that you can get past it. And you know, it's hard when you're looking through all these reels to see the people who are really up for embarrassing themselves on camera. Yeah. And comedians love embarrassing themselves. That's why I love working with them.
Yeah, that's one of the great passions of being a comedian is how much can you embarrass yourself.
Yeah.
So what are you working on next? Is it just like distribution, keep doing like Q&As type things, or are you working on another project? Do you have a day job?
Definitely promoting this. I do work a day job, but I mean, it's aligned. I work in content production, writing, you know, producing videos for companies. So it's pretty much storytelling in the branded space. And a lot of what I learned there, I brought into filmmaking. Definitely. So the discipline of, you know, they taught me how to run a business, how to plan projects, how to coordinate cross-functionally, you know, big, you know, business terms that you learn at a corporate job. And I'm like, okay, that's how they function and get things done. Let me bring that culture, that knowledge into a movie. Okay, this is a project. What are the different departments? How do we work cross-functionally? How do we communicate? What's a meeting schedule, you know, so that we can all keep each other up to date? And that's why I run my movies the way, you know, my experience being run at a corporation. What I'm doing next, I mean, obviously promoting the movie. A festival in the Netherlands reached out because apparently someone who saw the movie at the festival it played in the UK recommended the movie to them. So that's cool.
Very cool.
You know, in terms of what am I doing next? Obviously, I want to make more movies. But at this point, you know, it's really dependent on the success of this one.
Definitely.
Third movie need to start generating money, need to be profitable. And, you know, with people watching and listening, it's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like the word's going to spread rather quickly. Like, you have the New York City connections. Mm-hmm. I'm sure, like...
Maybe you'll be in the next one. Who knows?
What?
Oh, maybe you'll be in the next one. You know? Who
that
knows?
would be cool.
That's all this is. It's just casting. This is me figuring out, can I spend like 6 months with you?
It's a good audition process. I like that a lot. What do you like to do for fun outside of doing all this video stuff?
Movies. I mean, I just love movies and music. It really is one of those things where if I'm not working on a movie, I'm usually watching movies, and it leads to the other, or listening to music, you know, playing music.
What do you play?
Guitar.
Nice.
Yeah, and they're very connected because it's all rhythm. A good movie has a rhythm to it. And you know, obviously, I love what everyone loves: going to eat good food, watching my Mets, you know, give us hope and then embarrass us because of
how
something.
How are you feeling about this year?
I'm just tired of. I'm fine being embarrassed with the team losing on the field because that's sports. It's going to happen. I'm tired of being embarrassed by them not winning on the field and then the story being about some stupid shit in the clubhouse and the ownership and all that. It's like, can you just let us be an on-the-field team, not a behind-closed-doors team? And it feels like we can never get there.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like, you went from the 2024 team that seemed like, oh, everybody loves each other. Like, it's going so great. It's going so great. And then, like, once everybody got traded, then you find out about all these rifts in the clubhouse. Like,
so what? I never understood. They're like, oh, everyone has to love each other in the clubhouse. What championship team did everyone really love each other? The 77 Yankees hated each other. The 86 Mets, I mean, by 1988, Darryl Strawberry and Keith Hernandez were coming to blows. Yeah. So I'm sure they didn't like each other, but they went to work. You know, there were the players that did blow in the back of the bus. There were the players that played cards in the front of the bus. And then they went on the field, hopped up on amphetamines, and won us a championship. That's all I'm asking for. I don't think it's too much. You know?
We need that good... Zoran's going to bring back the good cocaine in Queens. The cocaine that made Donald Trump president.
I think we can use the cocaine era. I really do. It feels like we've been in a heroin era for a long time, a pharmaceutical downer era for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
We need some bright 80s colors. Like we need some weird, awkward 80s club dancing, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I'm excited to see Bo Bichette get comfortable in New York. I feel like he's going to be a good player for us.
I have like PTSD every time. It's like, oh, someone's coming to New York, and then it's like, are we going to learn that they really suck? and just are done, or can't handle a spotlight or can't something. Here's the thing. I almost don't want the expectations, so I like the fact that people are so down on the team.
Yeah.
Because then it gives them, they do better when they come in there as the underdog. And right now, I don't care what anyone says. They are the underdog. All these players they signed, we pretty much somewhat replaced what we lost and didn't fully address the biggest issue, which was pitching.
Yeah, the pitching really has to come from the minor leagues at this point, and like whether or not Jonah Tong will still be here and whether or not he is the truth.
Yeah. But that's another thing. It's like, this season's going to depend on a 22-year-old, who's never pitched.
Well, that's what last season ended up coming down to. Was
was how that worked
Nolan
out.
McLean almost delivered us to the playoffs, and Jonah Tong was not mature enough to get us to that point. Like, he pitched okay. I think I saw his only win.
That's good, man. I remember going to see DeGrom play, and every time I would go, I'm like, he's losing, and I'm like, is it me? Like, I'm gonna stop going on DeGrom night. And then it turned out like the team just couldn't win for him, period. So I felt better about myself. I wasn't jinxing the guy.
Yeah, he has some crazy run support numbers.
That was insane. He pretty much broke the whole win stat for pitchers. Like, after that, no one really cares about wins for a pitcher. Because, you can't knock DeGrom for not getting wins with 1 ERA at some point during the season.
Yeah, it was interesting, too, because I think Brandon Nimmo called DeGrom at one point when he heard he was going to get traded there. He was like, come on down, fishing and hunting. This is the life you want to live. I know you, Brandon.
I'm sure taxes are much cheaper.
Oh, yeah, they make so much more on their contracts. And they're actually a big enough market down there. There's not really the Florida teams don't really have a big enough market, it seems.
Yeah.
Their owners' pockets aren't as deep or don't give a shit.
Well, a lot of the people in Florida, especially southern Florida, are not from Florida. They're like from New York, from Toronto, from Montreal. So everyone is still there rooting for those teams. The Florida Marlins they never really did anything to build that fan base. I remember when
besides winning 2 World Series.
Yeah. Look at
more than the Mets have won since '86.
Yeah, but look at the same with the Miami Heat. It's they had LeBron. People are going to go watch them, but it's not like a team with a really solid, strong fan base. But they don't need one. They don't need teams. They have warm weather and beaches. Everyone looks gorgeous. It's like New York. We need teams because it's cold. It sucks. Everyone's mean. It's. That's why we have these teams we latch onto to sort of ignore the fact that it is a very harsh environment here.
Yeah, definitely. Where did you get the doll from? Not to
eBay.
Transition back.
No, I'd love to transition back. eBay. It was a lot of fun because I wanted to make sure I didn't get a doll that looked too creepy. Because if you get a creepy looking doll, I feel it becomes distracting. And the whole point is, for me, I find dolls in general just creepy. Like, they don't have to look creepy. Just the concept of a porcelain doll is creepy. And I think it ties back to maybe the people who collect them. But that's a totally different story. So I was on eBay looking for, and I needed to make sure it was a doll that I didn't have to worry about the rights for and all that. So it had to be of a certain age. And then, for me, I wanted to make sure it did come from that time period too. So a lot of time on eBay, and a lot of these dolls are gosh darn creepy. But this one, it had this sort of sweet face, and for a while in my office as I was working on the script and stuff, I would have it sitting on a couch across from me. And it became weird, like I became too comfortable with the doll, where it's like you start talking to it in a weird way, But now it's in a box tucked away in a closet. Hopefully the movie makes money and I can sell it on eBay as memorabilia one day.
Yeah, maybe it'll go to the Academy Museum or the Moving Picture Museum.
Hopefully.
Put it back in Queens, yeah.
You say that. My last movie, the script is in the Library of Academy Arts and Sciences.
Oh, wow.
Which is
so cool.
So cool. Like, they reached out. I thought it was like a scam email from Nigeria or something. Because I got an email. They're like, we want to host your script. Can you please send us a copy? Because the last movie had a theatrical run in LA, The Dirty Kind. And because of that, they wanted the script, which is freaking awesome. Again, like, we're just kids from, I'm from Queens.
Yeah.
And it's like, I grew up going to all these movie theaters. I had so many. I had the Midway across the street. There was like 5 movie theaters within 3 blocks of me. Clearly I'm not famous of a certain level, but to be able to make movies to a point where they are reaching audiences I'll never know. I do have a script in the Library of Academy Arts and Sciences. It feels like for the littlest bit, I'm connected to this world that I love so much. And that connects me with other, maybe I'm not connected with the success of Kubrick or all these other filmmakers yet. But again, looking at like where a lot of them started, Robert Downey Jr. was the same schmuck running around New York City with a camera, like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm going to make this movie. I'm going to get it in front of audiences. And I feel excited that I'm continuing that tradition.
Yeah, even like I have the Criterion channel, and it's like you see the retrospectives on some of these directors and like their first 3 films, you're like, how did people know they were going to be this one day?
Yeah. Well, Kubrick, everyone, like, we're on social media, so that's what we're going to reference. Someone was like, what's the worst Kubrick movie? And I love all of them except, I mean, you look at his actual first movie, Fear and Desire, which was like self-funded, no budget movie for the day. It's terrible. It's a terrible, terrible movie that happens to star another person who became a famous director, Paul Mazursky.
Oh, wow.
but the movie's terrible. And then you read his interviews and he's like, yeah, that is a terrible movie. And my lesson was, don't try to be so pretentious. Like, all the dialogue was overly important and all that. And that's a lesson he learned. And you saw him after that make a few film noirs and really figure out that at the end of the day, you have to put the audience first. And the audience is there to just lose themselves in your movie. So even if you're making a heavy movie, even if you're making a movie with very serious subject matter, they have to some degree have a fun experience. Otherwise, why are they doing this? It's a very pedestrian art form that's becoming, bourgeoisie. But movies were meant for the salt of the earth, the people who couldn't afford to go to the opera, the people who didn't want to read, the New York Times bestseller list. It was the working class art form, and I think we need to get back to that for it to have any kind of future.
Word. That is...
I'm not a Marxist, I'm a capitalist, but when it comes to movies, viva la audience.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, I think it has to go hand in hand, like... I think everybody who's a decent person has socialistic tendencies and just like their ethos, like you were making the film, like it wasn't like you're like, I'm going to make all this money off this film and you guys are going to be the people who make it for me for nothing. It's like, no, like I think this would be fun and like you guys want like to be on films, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to work together and like get this done. Also, 14 days is like not a joke, but that's like... To get a 14-day commitment from somebody is so much nicer than like a 5-week to 7-month commitment from someone.
Well, that was another lesson because everything is a lesson learned. My last movie I filmed in 9 days, and that was 9 days straight.
Oh my goodness.
And that was a mistake because we only ended up filming about 80% of the script because we just didn't have time. And the sacrifice to be able to get everything into those 9 days, and I didn't sleep for 9 days because it was day, night, but I scheduled it so no actor had to work more than like one shift. Like if you're working a day, then you get a night off, you come back the next day or whatever it was. But it didn't work. So for this movie, I'm like, okay, we're going to need to stretch it out a little longer, still keep a small amount of days, but give yourself time to breathe so you can sort of, regain your footing, figure out where the movie is going, and adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I like that independent vibe because, like, I watched Nouvelle Vague, Linklater film about Godard, and I felt like that. Like, did you see the film?
I have not. I want to though.
There's a scene in the film where like they finish a scene very quickly, and he's just like, "All right, we're done for the day." And it's like, that's something that would never happen on a Hollywood film. Like, you would never get released after an hour or two.
No.
But, like, when you're doing an independent film and you're like, oh, we're doing, like, this shoot on this day. We're doing this shoot on this day. Like, it gives the illusion of more like, oh, we could do this easy and then just be done with it. And then you guys will come back another time and it might be a longer day. But I think that's interesting because, like, the people who work in the film and television industry now, it's basically like you're working a 13-hour shift on average, and you're coming back after you drove home for an hour, and you're going to sleep 4 hours, and you're going to come back tired the next day, and it's just going to keep perpetuating the cycle. So that is
I'd
kind
love
of
to
cool.
do that. I would love to do that. But you can't make someone work 20-hour days if you're not paying them.
For
You know?
sure.
They're not
That's
going to
why-
do it on pizza and pasta alone.
For
you know?
sure. Yeah, that's definitely where the union films come in, because they're just like, oh, I'm getting paid mad overtime. Like, run the clock. Let's do it.
But another lesson is because I hear a lot of indie filmmakers where they're like, when you don't have a budget, your greatest asset is time. You can shoot a movie as long as you want to make it perfect. And to me, that sounds exactly like someone who hasn't actually made a movie, because you're going to lose actors.
Yeah.
You know, you start making a movie, that same actor might not be available 6 months from now. People are flaky, you know, so you need to make sure you finish with everyone you need. My first movie, I literally would shoot a scene, and then the actors who's playing a lead, I never hear from them again. And it's like, well, what do you do? It's like, well, I don't want to lose this footage. You already have this footage. So I rewrite the script to be able to incorporate that footage into the new script. One actor ended up getting cancer, survived. He's doing great. He was a friend. But it's like he couldn't continue the movie. It's like, okay, how do I rewrite the script to use his footage, you know? And that was my first movie. If you like Nouvelle Vogue, you know, my first movie was inspired by Truffaut and Godard and that whole movement. And even with the script writing, I could only make that kind of movie in my early 20s. Because now I'm just so much a control freak, so anal about things where it's like, no, we can't let it get away from us. It needs to be controlled so we have the finished movie. But back then it was like, no, I'll just rewrite the whole movie to make it work. You know, It's like, oh, let's just shoot this, or let's just, you know, go with the energy. And I'm happy I made that movie because I really love it. I think it's a lot of fun. And, you know, you should check it out, Susie Q on Tubi. It's the kind of movie you could only make when you're that young and sort of that naive, but that passionate and in love with what's on screen.
Wow. Thank you so much, Vilan. This was amazing. Where can people follow you?
Oh, at Trub Film Co. On X, on Instagram, Vilan Trub on Facebook. I think those are the three that I'm really on. And trubfilmco.com, you know, has all the information. Watch my movies. They're on Tubi. Mamochka on Amazon Prime.
Thank you for pronouncing it.
Yeah. And
you want to spell it?
Mamochka.
That was just a little bit, because I'm going to have it in the description.
Yeah.
And I'll fact check it and spell check it.
Look for there should be a physical media release, which I'm very excited about, by the distributor. So
that's beautiful.
if you can hold it in your hands, it's very excited. If I see you in person, I'll sign it. You know, maybe it'll be worth something one day, maybe not, but at least, you know, we get to meet each other.
Yeah, it's
unless you're creepy, god awful creepy, in which case, please don't.
I know a doll out there watching. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Check out that film in your local screenings if it comes back around. Check it out on Amazon Prime's Marketplace or Fandango's Marketplace. Check out shows, LNHstudios.com for any upcoming shows, specifically April 11th at Bolero Snort doing improv, and March 20th maybe at Club Andromeda. We'll see what happens with that. Thank you guys so much, and stay blazy.